Malicious Compliance. Call the hoa, because my yard is devaluing your house. Alright, I'll have it cleaned by the inspection date. This is a story of my mother's. She has always been incredibly hard-headed, but this sticks out a lot from my teenage years. Once a year she always had us pull everything out of the garage. Lots of boxes. My mom has a concerning amount of possessions, so we could go through it and clean/reorganize. This particular year the couple who owned the house across from us, flippers, were in the process of selling their house. Unhappy with my mother's unsightly driveway covered in boxes soiling their good image, they made a call to the HOA. By the time my mother received the letter, the mess had been put away, but they decided to get her on a few other complaints such as the bikes against the side of the house and the patchy gravel. She had 2 weeks to have everything up to standards. Petty and easily frustrated, my mother knew immediately who called, since the couple had come over and told her flat out with their renovations they were selling that house for way more any other house in this neighborhood and would appreciate if she respected that by keeping her property on paragraph. For the next 2 weeks every box from that garage was in our driveway. The couch and the living room TV came next. This was early summer, so it was perfect weather to sit in your yard in your short shorts and sports bra. My mom made sure to wave and smile every time they brought someone over for a showing. The final step came at the end of that 2 weeks though. After the yard had been cleaned up and cleared by the HOA, my mom went to the local Walmart and bought a for sale sign. She wrote about 1/4 of their ridiculous asking price on it and finished off with a big sold written across the front and stuck it out in our yard. No clue what they ended up selling their house for, but it sat empty for a while, so I'd assume it was below offer. TL, doctor, don't tell my mom she's devaluing your house, or she will go far out her way to do so, all while complying with the HOA. LMAO, that final step was a masterpiece. All that stuff before is a headache and time consuming, but that undervalue sign is genius. I can only book over the phone. Okay. Super short one. A few years ago, I went to the doctor's to make an appointment. I had to go to the pharmacy next to it, so thought I'd pop in instead of calling. Receptionist tells me they can't take walk-ins. I didn't want an appointment then anyway, and can only take bookings over the phone. So I stood at reception, got my phone out, and called the number for the phone right next to her. I made eye contact with her the whole time as she answered the phone and booked me in. Should have paused mid-conversation to borrow a pen and paper from her to jot down the reservation details. Talk to the police. If you want to, you will never get a penny from us. 5 years ago, I was hit by a car while riding my bicycle. The driver turned across the front of me, pretty much into me, and I had absolutely nowhere to go. I hit the passenger door of the car, then tumbled over the front of the car, still clipped into my pedals, taking it with me. The car was pretty damaged. I dented the door, scratched the paint in many places, ripped the door mirror off, smashed the glass, cracked the windshield, and dented/scratched the bonnet, hood. My bicycle emerged fairly well. I think I broke its fall mostly. The front wheel was bent, the saddle torn, and the pedal/bar tape damaged from hitting the road. I broke my collarbone and lost a lot of skin in various places that hit the road. I trashed my helmet and my shorts too. The driver said, "Sorry mate, I did not see you," which was pretty obvious. The car was his daughter's, and he was taking his grandson out for an ice cream. The poor little boy got covered in glass from the door window that exploded inwards when I hit it, but seemed to be okay. The driver gave me his phone number and I took a photo of his driving license and insurance details along with a pile of photos at the scene. I got the details of 2 witnesses too before I passed out from the pain. This all happened on a Friday. I got patched up at the hospital and my partner was able to get my bike home. Because of my broken collarbone, I was in a huge amount of pain, while the doctors could figure out if it needed to be pinned or not over the weekend. On the Saturday morning I called the driver and his phone went straight to voicemail. I had taken a good look at my bike and figured out it needed about £350 worth of parts, wheel, forks, saddle, new bar tape etc, and something for my cracked phone screen. I guessed £150. On the message I left him, I said that I was not sure if he wanted to pay for the parts or go through his insurance. His daughter called me back and shouted and swore at me for damaging her car. I explained that he has turned across the front of me and it was his poor driving to blame. I mentioned that I was sitting on my sofa with a broken collarbone as a result of him and all I wanted was to get my bike fixed. You will never get a penny from me. Talk to the police. If you want to, we will tell them that it was not my car. You will never get a penny from us. Okay, I can comply with that. I called the local police station and they sent a constable down to see me. I carefully explained what had happened and showed him the photos from the scene, the damage to my bicycle, phone, helmet and shorts, gave him the details of the witness and several cups of tea, and he advised me to get a solicitor on the case too. So I did just that. My bicycle insurance has legal aid cover, so I used it. Long story short, I had 3 surgeries on my shoulder over the next 18 months or so. The insurance details that the driver gave me was fake. The daughter's insurance company did not cover her father as a driver. The driver had 6 points on his license already, but crucially the police found he had insurance with a company that did cover him on her car, but only for third-party cover. He only admitted this when they threatened to charge him with driving without insurance and documentation fraud. The police eventually convicted him and gave him enough points to ban him from driving for a year and fined him £1,500 plus costs. The insurance company that he was with was one of these "we only cover really bad drivers." Obviously did not pay out for the damage to the car. This was probably another £1,500 or more. The insurance company paid for my bicycle damage, £550 once assessed by a local shop. They also paid for my clothing and helmet, £200, and my phone screen, £180. Then finally the insurance company paid compensation for my injuries and time off etc. something pounds. I would have been quite happy for them to pay for my initial assessment of my bicycle and phone damage, but as they wanted to make my life difficult, it cost them thousands. Got the driver banned, and the resulting compensation was a massive bonus for my savings account. Edit. Thank you kind strangers for the gold and silver. Edit 2. For those asking for a TLDR. TLDR. Driver with questionable insurance driving his daughter's car hit me while I was cycling and broke my bike and my collarbone. When asked to fix the bike, his daughter called me and told me to go to the police if I wanted, as she would deny everything and I would not get a penny. I went to the police, who suggested a solicitor too, and 4 years later the court awarded me about 100x more than I originally asked for. Edit 3. Yes. Bicycle insurance is a thing. My bicycles are insured though British Cycling. My cover includes loss or damage and third-party cover plus legal. Can't buy 2 kegs of beer? Alright then. This isn't my malicious compliance but my dad's. Sorry for any weird sentences. English isn't my first language. We are both from Denmark. On to the story. So my dad and some of his friends had a game club in the 70s, in which they played pool, darts, board games etc. at each other's houses/apartments once a week. After a while they decided upon throwing a party. My dad was assigned the task of getting beer for everyone. This was a rather large club, so he and the others decided that 2 kegs of 50 liters, 13 gallons, would suffice. He then called up the local brewery, Tuborg, a sub-brand of the more well-known Carlsberg brewery, and was told that they couldn't sell him the kegs if he only bought 2. He had to buy at least 5, and so he did. In comes the malicious compliance. Tuborg, at least at the time, had a return policy in which you could return unused kegs and get your money spent on those back. My dad drove down to the brewery with the 3 unused kegs and got his money back. In the end he only paid for the 2 kegs and was a happy man. He said that they changed the policy afterwards. Edit. Added the fact that we are from Denmark. Oh, I'm not the boss. I had a job for a while where I was supposed to be the night shift quality control tech, but ended up running the entire shift because the supervisor was unreliable. He was eventually fired and I officially ran the shift for a few months before a new supervisor was hired. We'll call him E. E was drinking buddies with the owner and would often call off or show up drunk. In 6 months, I don't believe he ever worked a full 40-hour week. Everyone just kind of rolled with the idea that he was in charge on paper, but I was in charge in reality. He really didn't like that. He went crying 2 hours, and after yet another night where he showed up long enough to screw up everything and leave, hours called me in. The conversation went like this. HR, you know you're not the boss, right? Me, yeah. HR, he says the guys listen to you more than him. Me, hard to listen to a guy who's never here. HR, that's a bad attitude. I'm sending you to a class on how to deal with difficult people and you're not a boss. Me, so what do I do if he doesn't show up? HR, you're not a boss, you do nothing. Me, in my head, awesome. She then issued me write-ups detailing this conversation. 2 nights later he calls off. I listened. The second shift supervisor calls me into the office to tell me what's going on and have me set the schedule. I'm not a boss. He asks me if I'm going to call the production manager. I told him to. No answer. Big surprise. And he tried calling a few other managers. No answer. Workers are coming in. What are we doing? Don't know. I'm not a boss. The second shift supervisor set the schedule and left. He didn't get paid enough to deal with this either. The supervisors were the only ones with machine lock codes to fix faults. Press goes down. I'm not a boss. Hey, I need tooling only the supervisor can issue. I'm not a boss. I need paperwork not related to quality. I'm not a boss. Finally, my senior operator got fed up with sweeping. This is about 3 hours after his lathe went down on a simple error and asked me for HR's number. Now that I can definitely do. Dial 9 for an outside line. He called her repeatedly for close to half an hour before she answered. He told her to get her ass up to the shop and hung up. The whole shift, at this point nothing was running, sat in QC for about an hour before she showed up. HR, why is nothing running? Me, I'm not a boss. HR, well, where's he? Me, called off. HR, well then you're in charge. I reached into my desk and pulled out the training slip and write-ups she gave me earlier. Me, not according to these. HR, I didn't mean it like that. Me, then you shouldn't have wrote it like that. HR, what will it take to get you to forget that conversation? Me, an apology, cancel my class, and next time that alcoholic comes crying to you tell him that we'll all start treating him like he's in charge when he starts acting like it. After the most insincere apology I have ever heard, I got everything running again and never heard anything about it again. Bonus, I got a new job a few months later, and he quit in the middle of a full-on 5-year-old temper tantrum when they informed him that he'd have to cover my job until they found a replacement. It was beautiful and my senior operator got a nice promotion out of it. Edit, gold. I'm honored. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, you amazing internet people.